Hi, Erica here with Crafts Direct. I just got done playing with alcohol ink and look at these super fun coasters I made. I love how beautiful they are, how they look like they're almost watercolored. I like how everyone's a little bit different, even though I pretty much use the same techniques. And I love that they are a fun hexagon shape and have felt on the back so you can use them as coasters. So I want to show you the process I went through to make these.
The first thing we're going to do is get out all of your supplies. So grab your 4x4 hexagon tile, a heat gun, your air blower, your alcohol inks, and then don't forget the blending solution. You don't see it in the picture here, but you will definitely need it. First things first, we are going to start by getting that hexagon tile wet with some of our blending solution. I used a spray bottle to apply it, but you could also just drizzle it out of the bottle that it came in. Then we are going to go in with our denim alcohol ink and place drops around the outsides of the hexagon. Next, I went in with the stream color and I applied those drops mainly in the center. Then you're going to grab that air blower and pump air to move around the alcohol inks. Right now I'm focusing on going from the center mostly to the outside, and I just want to get the entire surface of that tile covered with alcohol ink. The air will blow in the direction that you are pointing, so as you pump the little ball on the top, it will push air out and move that alcohol ink around for you. If you get to an area that you just really can't get any more alcohol ink into, you can definitely add more drops of alcohol ink to fill in the spaces. So here I went in with a little bit more denim color and just filled in those spots. If you come up to stubborn areas that really won't fill in, just grab your blending solution and add a couple drops. That adds a little bit more liquid and it'll help it move around. Continue using that air blower to move everything around to get the colors where you like it, and then once you kind of like where everything is, you can go in with your heat gun. The heat gun also will help move the alcohol ink around, but it also dries it as you do it. So you'll see some of the alcohol ink is not moving anymore. That's because the heat gun is drying it as it goes. So the air blower we use more for moving the solution around when it's wet and getting everything covered, and then the heat gun helps dry it in place. At this point we could have left it as is, but I just wanted to play around and see what would happen if I added more of that blending solution. So I put a couple drops in the center and just watched what it did. So basically it lightened up all the colors, created more flow, a couple more of those deep dark outlines were created, and I just continued to use my heat gun to push around that liquid, pushing it in different directions, creating different flows and different outlines. I used the heat gun just to help it dry up a little bit. I had this one stubborn area that I just couldn't get with the heat gun, so I went back to my air blower and it helped me move the dark colors where I wanted them and getting them kind of in the place where I wanted it. And then once I was done blowing it around with the air blower, once I got it in its spot, then I went back and used the heat gun to really dry it out. I was really intrigued with how the blending solution moved the alcohol ink around before, and I've seen other projects that have these fun little circles that are all over the entire surface of the project, and so I thought maybe if I take some of that blending solution and splatter it over the project, it'll create those circles. And it did! So if you just take a little bit of blending solution, put it on something and splatter it off and do it all over your project, you'll get those fun little lightened up areas. And then you can go in with your heat tool and make them dry really fast. Next up, I wanted to add a little bit of embellishment to my coaster, so I grabbed my gold mixative. Make sure to shake it up before you use it. You'll want to hear that ball moving around on the inside. I put some on the side, I grabbed a toothpick, and then I made fun little gold dots all over the surface of my tile, just to add a little bit of extra detail. I didn't stop there with the gold accents. I decided to grab my Color Pour Magic gold pen and add gold detail around the edge of my coaster. To make this pen work, first I shook it up a little bit, then I pushed it down on my cardboard surface that I had. You have to push it down and hold it down until the ink starts flowing. Once you've got the ink flowing, then you're going to go around all 6 sides of the hexagon coaster. Once all 6 sides were done, I looked at the top of the coaster and decided it also needed a little bit of gold. So I took my pen at a 45-degree angle and I made lines along all 6 sides at the top. And finally, I decided it was done and moved on to doing my next 2 coasters. For the second coaster, I used the same approach. I got it really wet with our blending solution, added a lot of denim alcohol ink and stream alcohol ink, and then I used my air blower to move all the colors around. Then I went in with my heat gun, and this time I doubled up, used my heat gun and the air blower just to help move things around and get them really to the places I liked them. Then I went back, played around with more of that blending solution, moved it around with the heat gun again, and just added more details and more of those dark lines throughout the project. Here I am trying to touch up some of those really dark areas that I didn't like, so I'm adding more blending solution and trying to move the darkness out of that area. I continue to heat it and dry it, trying to get it just the way I like it. And then I'm going to finish this project off the same as the last one, so it's a nice coaster set. So I'm going with my gold pen along all of the edges. Then I'm also going to take my pen at a 45-degree angle and go along the sides. And then, oop, there's a problem. So I take my paper towel, clean it up, I take my blending solution, pour it over where that gold was, go back in with some alcohol ink, move it around, heat it up, and then before you know it, you're back to finishing off those edges. And then you get to move on to your third coaster. You'll notice this coaster has some color on the sides already. That's because these are double-sided and I didn't like the way my one on the other side turned out. I went through the same process to start this one. It ended up being a little liquidy, so I used a tilting method to move my alcohol inks around to get it all covered. Then I went back in with my air blower and my heat gun to move around the rest. I wanted to try something a little different out with this one, so I took my spray bottle of blending solution and sprayed it over the top. It gave it a cool look. Then I continued adding blending solution, getting it the way I wanted it, and I finished it off exactly the same as the other 2 with my gold pen. Once I got all 3 coasters done, I sprayed them with this crystal clear Krylon spray. I did several coats of this. Then I got black felt, I traced around my hexagons, I cut out the hexagon shapes of felt, and I hot glued them onto the back of the tiles. And this makes it so that the coasters are easily movable and can slide around on any surface.
Thanks for joining me as I did this project. You can find all of the supplies that I used at craftstruck.com and jump over to our projects page.